Big exciting news for your Friday afternoon as new stimulus push comes from where else but a new source. Oh yes, the Federal Reserve. Insiders in Wall Street, loud top dogs in Wall Street, are asking for the Federal Reserve to step in for your stimulus relief. This is amid news that the Federal Reserve did step in earlier today with a change to the Main Street lending program, but they're saying that's too little too late. They want stimulus. They want the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, to act now rather than later. This is amid news as Jerome Powell is under fire for what's now looking like stagflation, higher prices for milk and eggs, and less growth in this economy, or perhaps retraction of the economy. Incredible great news. It's just breaking minutes ago, and I'm here, you're here. We're going to get through it together. I'm so glad you joined me on Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here, you're here, and we have a great 2-hour schedule here today on Afternoons LALATE. It starts with this video, check, then followed by Purple, which is a continuation of check. Then McConnell versus Trump. Mitch spoke about stimulus minutes ago. You're going to have your eyes roll. But there's new questions about the Senate and those big races on the path to get your stimulus. And finally, our blockbuster new hit show that replaces Pelosi versus Mnuchin of the new replacement series called The Street and Stimulus. Everyone tuned in yesterday, and you got to tune in for that because that's going to be a lot of great stuff. Let me go over what's coming up, but first go to the Funds channel, subscribe if you've not. We're really going to get through this together. It's important you subscribe. If you're not publicly subscribed, make sure you go down to the pinned comment in this video to ensure that you're publicly subscribed. So when I see comments in the video, I see there's a little red dot. You may not see it, I'll see it, that shows you're a public subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, it's important you do, so because I respond to subscribers' comments first before anyone else. Also, like this video because this is going to be one of the best videos to start your afternoon on a positive note. In this video, I'll be going over why new calls for the Federal Reserve to send out stimulus is heating up right now. Additionally, I'll be going over why the Federal Reserve made a major change to one of the most important programs that has been detailed on this channel. Third, I'll be going over why there's a push to get stimulus out right now. And we're talking about second stimulus and preparing for third stimulus. Fourth, I'll talk about that shocking number that came out minutes ago. The number of COVID-19 cases on Thursday. And what could be the number of COVID-19 cases today and tomorrow? Spoiler, it's not a good number. And I'll be talking about that final push to get your stimulus and why the Purple Power is doing the best job of any group online. Wow, I'm just so excited for you. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as we sit here today is that Purple Power is really becoming the real focus of social media. In the final days before this election, you should be absolutely categorically proud. Several pushes are underway. First, push for executive orders. Executive orders sent out stimulus checks. The president can't do it. He has $800 billion sitting around that he can use to do it. He doesn't need act of Congress, and he could still do it down to the last night of the election, before the election night. In fact, it may excite his own base. New reports that were detailed earlier today on LALATE indicate that more Republicans vote in the polling spot or the voting booth than by mail, and that ultimately more Democrats vote early, less Republicans vote early by mail, and more Republicans vote in the booth and less Democrats vote in the booth. So, to ensure that his base gets out, or to ensure that undecided voters get out, this would make more sense to do stimulus right now. We had always talked about, well, maybe he needs to do the executive order before mail-in ballots are voted upon. No, the new data shows that the vast majority of people who do mail-in ballots are predominantly Republican, and the minority of them are the vast majority are Democrat, the vast minority are Republican. So this would make sense for his own vote. Next, there's just a lot of swing states that are up for grabs. I mean, you know, it makes sense to do it right now because a lot of swing states are just absolutely up for grabs. Third, it would help the Senate. The Senate races are just too close to call. And fourth, there's time. Imagine, you know, if he did it tonight, if he did this weekend, everyone talks about the weekends. If he did it this weekend, you can have the check by, you know, a little bit after next weekend. That's incredible, great news. How much stimulus checks could he send out if he did executive orders? He could have $4,000 in your bank account. Bam. He could have an additional sum of money for FPUC, or as one viewer said, send out some for rent, send out some for FPUC, some out for hazard pay. You can do all of them in the above. But one person is under fire today for not doing enough stimulus soon enough. And no, he's not a congressman, and no, he's not a presidential candidate. He is Jerome Powell, a person who I've been deeply critical on this channel of, not because I disagree with his economic policies or his monetary policies, because I have not been happy with his dealing with the pandemic. If you don't recall what's going on and who he is, let me explain what's going on and understand why today's news is incredibly great news for you. When we talk about stimulus and money landing in your hand, stimulus checks, FPUC, hazard pay, $10,000, and all those big sums of money, $150,000 EIDL loans and $10,000 EIDL grants, those are all by Congress. Congress does economic policies, but monetary policies are generally done by the Federal Reserve. What is the Federal Reserve? The Federal Reserve is not the Congress. It's a separate building. It determines how the American dollar is handled and what policies are governing the American dollar. Well, the head of the Federal Reserve, whose name is Jerome Powell, at the beginning of the pandemic, looked at the Federal Reserve funds and dedicated an enormous sum of money for stimulus, for pandemic relief. Put it in that fund and left it there. It does not require act of Congress, does not require the act of the presidency. It's within the inherent charter organization of the Federal Reserve that they can do it. And guess how much they've sent out? Next to none of it. Yes. So during a congressional hearing, which was detailed on this channel back, I think, around July, he was asked about this money. He said, oh, well, I didn't need your authority to pull the money out and get it ready. Okay, how much money have you used? Well, you know, not a whole lot. And at that time, in July, he was talking about what was called the Main Street Lending Program. Now, this is a program that millions and millions of viewers of this channel absolutely need, desperately need. I had it as a regular video on this channel for upwards of 2 months. I probably did about 50 videos on it. And it predates even this channel. Why? Because the Main Street Lending Program was announced in March. That didn't go live until July, and then it got changed, and then got changed again. Well, Jerome Powell always said that that was his response to the stimulus by this program. And I said, this is not enough. Well, today, he was under fire again. And guess what he did? He changed it. In categorically the best great news that I've ever had from my original OG viewers of this channel who are on EIDL or PPP. There is now another instrument you can get. Yes, you can get it also. It starts at $100,000. Now, I want to make very clear that I have a lot of viewers that have all different walks of lives. I have some viewers that are on SSDI. I have some viewers that are single moms that have 2 employees. I have husbands and wives that run a business to themselves. I have kids that are Uber and Lyft drivers. Everyone is quite different. And what's important to understand is that this program applies to a lot of my viewers who got EIDL loans but have a cap on it by Javita Carranza and can't get that excess, can't get over $50,000, or have PPP and need more money. Well, don't worry about Congress. Don't worry about PPP. Don't worry about Javita Carranza. Go get a Main Street lending offer from Jerome Powell, because now the threshold starts at $100,000. You can get $100,000 very quickly. But what's important to understand is that for the rest of the viewers, besides the ones that do the Main Street lending program, the Federal Reserve may start giving you money as well. New calls today say that the Federal Reserve needs to start acting appropriately and doing things for all Americans. Aneta Markowska says, I just don't see the benefits of waiting until December. A lot has changed in the past 2 weeks. Almost all the worries that flagged in September have materialized and are in the process of materializing, so they don't have the luxury anymore of time anymore. She's referring to the Federal Reserve. She's basically saying the Federal Reserve needs to act now. can't wait to December, needs to act now, and needs to start doing things for you, the American people. Federal Reserve has not. Federal Reserve has more money than Congress. Federal Reserve has more money than $800 billion that I talk about every day for executive orders. Federal Reserve has trillions and trillions of dollars that it has, and it could print more money as well. The Federal Reserve, economists of the Federal Reserve are worried that the best of the gains are well behind us and that the benefit of government stimulus funding has dried up. Basically, that all the impact of stimulus is no longer felt on the economy. The market just wanted more follow-through and obviously hasn't gotten it, Markowska said. In September, maybe they felt like there was no urgency to do anything immediately, but now they have to. What's important to understand is that there's a pandemic, there's falling economic numbers, there's bad corporate earnings, there's more homelessness, there's more poverty, and that the Federal Reserve is really saying, you know, check back with me in December. Now a lot of Wall Street insiders this afternoon say, no, Federal Reserve, knock, knock, knock. Are you there? You need to start acting right now. This is incredibly great news for you because now we have two forces that are working in your behalf. Well, besides the purple power. That would make three. We have Wall Street that is shouting and screaming for stimulus more than you have ever heard since March of this year. Now you have economists shouting and screaming at the Federal Reserve to do something as well. Goldman Sachs economist David Marisel said in a note this afternoon, it's a severe winter virus resurgence proved more economically damaging than we expect, and we need to respond. Its options would be limited. The most likely response would be to adjust the pace of assets purchasing, but for the Federal Reserve has expressed only lukewarm support. While we don't expect the committee to make any changes right away, they need to do it right now. This is amid the concerns of stagflation. If you've been with this channel for a while, I've talked about, and you have talked about in the comments, how milk and eggs have gone up. Basic groceries that you may have bought yesterday or 2 weeks ago are at least, almost double the price or 50% higher. What's going on? It's called inflation. It's calling prices going up. But you're not making any more money. The economy's not growing. And so that's called stagnant economy, a flat economy. The words put together creates stagflation. Stagflation means when prices are going up, but the economy is flat. The economy is not increasing. And that causes a depression. Yes, it causes the depression like you saw in the 1920s. And Federal Reserve Jerome Powell said, you know what, we need some inflation. Inflation's good. I don't want to touch inflation. Now there's big concerns that there is too much inflation and that the economy is flat or contracting, and hence stagflation is too scary for Jerome Powell not to do anything. My prediction? Here's my prediction. Jerome Powell has generally been very good on monetary policy in terms of doing things for the economy, not necessarily for us. So I certainly do expect him to do something very quickly in the next 7 to 10 days that would curb inflation and curb the concerns about stagflation amidst the growing pandemic. Now, whether or not he's going to start doing something for stimulus related, that's dependent upon the pressure. What's important to understand is that's the Federal Reserve. Now, let me turn to the congressional races and Congress. There's new concerns today, again, from Wall Street to send out stimulus. While you'll see more about this on Street and Stimulus coming up at 5 o'clock, what's important to understand, basically, is that Wall Street is shouting and kicking very loud that we need stimulus right now. We need stimulus for what we've endured. We need stimulus to survive where we are now. That's called second stimulus because it concerns the second situation, the second part of this pandemic. But you also need third stimulus. And third stimulus is to deal with the lockdowns coming. France started its lockdown today, and it goes to December. Yes, a lockdown like you saw here in March. France is not the only country. Germany has a lockdown. Italy is expected to have a lockdown, and other European countries could be having a lockdown. And how about the United States? Well, the numbers you're going to see in the video right after this purple are shocking. On Friday last week, the daily number of new COVID-19 cases was at 83,000. It shot up to a record number from the previous record set at 73,000 in July. Daily number of new COVID-19 cases. Well, after 6 days, the average was a record high. Today, we're at 8, where we have now approached 90,000. Yes, the daily number of cases yesterday, Thursday, was 90,000. And as you see in the video right after this, so please stay tuned, Scott Gobley says we could see 100,000 cases Friday, today, and 100,000 cases on Halloween. New cases. It's with that you need lockdown stimulus, aka third stimulus. If people are going to tell you go back on lockdown, if people are going to say, okay, you can't work, you can't go out, you can't move, you can't do anything, well, how am I going to pay my electric bill? How am I going to pay my water bill? How am I going to pay my car note? How am I going to pay get my groceries and put food on my table? I need a stimulus check. And what's important to understand, Purple Power, is this is where you're needed more than anyone else, is that these people in Congress haven't even spent a single thought about third stimulus yet. What's important to understand is that you and I are trying to do things ahead of time. We're not trying to do things after the point. And ahead of time is saying, you know what? After the election, there's going to be some craziness going on. Well, we need stimulus for what we've endured all these months, but we need to be prepared for what's happening in the few weeks from now, potential lockdowns. We need stimulus for that as well. As one or two haters jump in every comment of every video, oh, why are we talking about third stimulus? I haven't gotten my second stimulus. Guess what? Because your governor may put you on lockdown in middle November, and you want your congressman to be writing that stimulus bill now and passing it, so when you do go on lockdown, you'll have a check in November. Otherwise, you may not see the November check until March or July of next year. By then, we're through a bad time. The incredible great news, though, as we sit here today, is that there's a push for stimulus. Now a push upon the Wall Street. Now a push upon the Federal Reserve, and certainly a push for the viewers of this channel. Let me go into some incredible questions and comments from yesterday's video before we get to Purple right after this that has more continuation of these breaking developments. Lachey, it's a shame none of these leaders have hearts. Ethel, we need to stop voting for them. Rondell, Pelosi says she's a great negotiator. So why don't people have anything for 7.5 months? If she knew how to do her job, we would not be in distress. Nina, if Pelosi is still the speaker, no more chaos. Mark Chambers, I'm not holding my breath. Nancy continues to spread fear. Kim, things really getting bad here in New York, and I'm sure in other states as well. Becky, we need something ASAP. Ethel, we need to hold on to their checks till they give us ours. I love that. Michelle, this stimulus is crazy. John Beard, they don't know about other people. Errol, we need more people to join this family to make our voice louder. Purple Power, yes. Take these videos, share them on Facebook, get the Purple Power caucus, get the Purple Power delegates, get everyone involved and very loud and vocal. We're down to the very last days before the election, and you shouldn't be quiet. You absolutely should not be quiet. Marvin, let's get it done, and absolutely, let's get it done. If you have questions in today's video, drop in the comments below. I'm sure you do. And coming up next is the continuation of this video on Purple, which will give you more shocking developments and more great news about your stimulus. Go to the Funds channel, subscribe, because you need to be part of this community. If you watch these videos, you need to make sure you're subscribed so that you get an alert on your cell phone, your computer when a new video goes live. Hit the bell at the Funds channel. That'll give you that alert so you never miss a video. Also, like this video. Coming up is Purple. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay LALATE.